And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Hello and welcome. It's time for another exciting episode of IT Career in Australia channel. And tonight's topic is key strategies for retaining top tech talent, um, obviously in tech industry. Thank you for finding some time to join me this evening. And please don't forget to introduce yourselves in the comments. Let us know what you do and join our conversations with your questions and comments. Or at least please say hi so that we know that you're here and you're listening to us. Just quick reminder, of course, I'm Jana Martins, currently working in IT consultancy myself. So passionate about learning more about the industry and sharing it with you on this YouTube channel. So tonight, again, we're going to talk about key strategy for retaining top tech talent. And Matt is going to share his experience, advice, and all the main strategies that he's been using with his clients. Before I'll pass it over to Matt to introduce himself, just want to quickly remind you that we're streaming live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. If you missed the stream, not a problem. You can always watch replays by subscribing to my YouTube channel, IT Career in Australia. And I go live there every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Melbourne time with various experts from my network and talking about broad range of topics from job search and career transition, career progressions, and in and out of the tech industry in Australia. So please also make sure to participate and ask the questions, because the active participants always get some nice surprise at the end of the stream. So again, encourage you to ask as many questions as you like on any platform. Just please remember to stay on the topic. So I think that's enough of me. I'm just going to pass it on to Matt to introduce himself, please.
Hi, thank you, and good evening, everybody. So I'm Matt Woodard. I run my own TA advisory business called Scalar. We work with startups and scaling businesses to help establish TA functions. And prior to that, I've been in tech for the last, I guess, 10 years, recruitment for about 15 or more, working with those fast-paced tech companies. And obviously tonight's topic is something that's been really close to my heart for a long time, something that's often caused challenges and headaches and that sort of thing. So I'm hoping that the thoughts that we're going to go through will resonate and will be useful for the audience.
Perfect. Thank you, Matt. And I guess the usual question that I always ask, before we dive deep into the topic, why this topic is, close to your heart, like, why you decide to talk about this particular topic today?
Yeah, well, I've lived and breathed tech for the last 10 plus years, as I've said, working for companies like Xero at the beginning of their growth journey, and then having moved to Australia for Zendesk and started a company called Slalom and built that business up from pretty much zero during COVID. So throughout that 10 years, really attracting top talent has been a constant challenge, trying to make sure that you are creating an offering and an appealing reason to join the organization in the first place. But then obviously when those people are in, when that talent's there, how you actually go about keeping them in the business, keeping them motivated and wanting to stay for the long term in the journey. So it's been something that's constantly on the back of your mind. Trying to find ways of understanding what the competition are doing and how you can provide a better offer and a better experience to your employees, to your top talent.
Yeah, definitely. And I know we're going to cover the few strategies today in terms of what we can do to retain the top talent. But I think if I just broadly ask your opinion, what do you think? What are the top reasons why actually tech professionals decide to stay with their current employees? Like if you have to pick one, like I know it's a plenty of reasons, but like, what do you think? If you have to pick one, what would be that top reason? And guys, whoever is listening with us on the stream, if you ever thought like, moving to another company or staying with what would be that, like, I don't know, this like first reason that comes into your mind?
Oh, I mean, it's probably the first thing we're going to talk about here, but I think it's from an employee's perspective, the knowledge and the confidence that they have ongoing challenges within their work. We all know within tech, it's people get into tech in the first place because they enjoy, to a large part, solving complex challenges. So I think if there is the ability to continue to enjoy complex challenges and be able to possibly contribute to an organization's growth and development, I think that often keeps people there. So interesting work, the chance to develop and grow their skills and work for an organization where their values align as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think most of the time I feel like the people, there's two categories of people. One, people who want to solve interesting problems, and one, people who just want more money.
I mean that was quite. That's sometimes been leveled against the industry for sure. But I guess COVID was an interesting example, of a couple of years where there did seem to be, speaking completely candidly, less focus on the work and more about accumulating more wealth, which that's entirely up to individuals. But it did mean that organisations did find it challenging keeping hold of people because the demand for talent was so high that people were willing to make a move, for that extra money.
Yeah,
so it's an interesting observation. Yeah.
And I think obviously because there was a candidate market during the COVID, every time that someone moved the job, they can get a significantly higher pay, not just, like a couple grand. So it's, we're talking about like 10, 20 grand more. So, and that's quite significant for someone to, to decide to jump. So I think it's also relative where is the market at the moment. So if the salaries is similar, then people will choose the more meaningful work. Again,
I mean, salaries during COVID were just crazy, weren't they? I mean, I remember we offered a relatively junior person a role, a salary of around 90K, which was appropriate for their experience, and they very, very quickly accepted something elsewhere for 50% more than that. So the market was just paying crazy. So yeah, you understand that's a significant amount of money. It's kind of in some cases a life-changing amount of money, so you can understand it. But yeah, those heady days have definitely diminished somewhat. So I think there's more realism in the market now. Certainly in the tech TA sector that I work in, I've noticed the opposite's been the case. Actually, it's been a lot of layoffs in TA over the last 6 to 9 months, and salaries have gone down significantly as a result. So whether that bounces back as we get into a new year next year, the signs seem to be that things are going to pick up. Tech organizations are going to hit the green light on hiring again, having had a pretty quiet 2023. So whether that means that TA will increase as a result, I guess we'll wait and see.
Yep. Yes. Leaving the, I guess, salary aside, let's think about other strategies that organization can do to retain the staff. Anna saying hi. Actually, thank you for popping hello in the comments, guys. I can see you watching, so I appreciate the quick hello in the comments as well. So the first, strategy we want to talk about today is actually career development and growth. And I guess, what do you think? How important is professional development growth opportunity in retaining tech talent? And what kind of approaches can companies take to provide that meaningful career advancement for their employees?
Yeah, look, I think we sort of just touched on that just now, but and I would just before we dive into this, would say that these are the sort of top sort of half dozen that are the top of mind for me. I mean, obviously, there's a lot more strategies that organisations are employing, but as I said, I think for the sake of people's evenings, let's just stick to sort of the top half a dozen. So yes, career development and growth. We touched on this, and I think it's such an essential aspect for organisations to get right. I think it's really important that employees feel that they have a clear path for career development and growth, that they actually know that they are working towards something, that there is a plan in place for them to evolve and to develop and to grow their skills and develop as professionals. I think that's such an important thing. And I also think the companies that are doing it best are the ones that are actually not just using a one-size-fits-all approach for their employees. They're actually treating them, talking to them on an individual level, and actually creating bespoke training programs and strategies that actually support the individual's own individual career aspirations and goals, whether that be external training programs, whether that be mentorship opportunities, both from their perspective, being mentored themselves in certain areas, or actually as an ongoing development opportunity for them to mentor less experienced people as well. It's really, really important that the individual needs are tailored, especially at the moment where people know that in tech that there are other opportunities, other organizations doing things really well. So again, from a retention perspective, it's vital that the organization caters to the individual needs.
I think the challenge is how, like, if you a reasonably large organization, how you can keep up with doing that tailored learning and development plans for each of your employees.
Well, I think you have to ask a question: what if you don't do it? I mean, that's really the thing, if you're not providing that focus on your employees' long-term development and growth, then somebody else will.
Yeah, what's this famous meme? Then what we will develop our staff and they leave, or what if we not develop our staff and they will stay?
Well, that's exactly, couldn't put it better myself. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's really the crux to it. Yeah, absolutely, making sure it's a tailored and bespoke experience for the people, so that they feel their individual needs are met. Whether it's from a development perspective, they're able to work on a slightly different tech stack. They get exposure within a different team doing something different. Whatever it is, whether it's an internal sort of focus or something else, then I think that's essential. That's probably up there. It's probably the most important thing, I'd say.
Yeah. And would you say the mentorship and coaching programs are the best, or do you think that just having external courses could be quite reasonable?
Again, I guess
where is I don't know, is there any particular advice around it? When the person needs to choose, then, for example, someone don't have any, learning and development in place, not like career, where would they start, I guess?
It really depends on the individual. I mean, I guess depends what that person is wanting to do next in their career. So, as an example, at Slalom, we created an internship program, an emerging talent program that we called it, and there were a lot of senior engineers and people at that point of just below being at a managerial level who actually aspired to be people leaders and managers, but hadn't had that exposure and that opportunity. So it made sense to actually give them that exposure with interns. So get them involved in the interviewing process, so they're starting to be more submerged in that kind of environment. So they're getting a sense of the right things to ask and how actually to interview. You know, it's a bit of a learned art in itself. And then from there, actually being supported around supporting and overseeing those people. So, you know, as I said, it really depends on the individual's needs. You know, as I said, it might be that as Zendesk, for example, there's there was a big focus on Ruby development, but there was teams who were focused on Scala. So we would give people the opportunity to work with those teams, so they could pick those skills up to learn a bit more about how to, what was involved in that side of things as well. So it really is dependent on the individual.
Yeah, definitely. And as you mentioned, it could be some horizontal sort of learning as well as I remember in one of my streams when we were talking about moving from individual contributor to the leadership roles, Lindsay said that it's not even it's not a career progression, it's a change of a career. And that's a lot of people not even realizing when you jump into that leadership role from the technical role. It feels like the progression, but in reality, there is so many other skills that you need to learn that it pretty much feels like a career change. So, and I think that also that would be a really good starting point to understand if the technical people would like to go towards that, more individual contributor and learn more technology, or maybe they want to learn more the business side as well, and the leadership side and soft skills.
It's a really good observation. I think you're absolutely right. Not everybody either wants to be a people leader, and not everybody has the skills or the attributes or the mindset to be a people leader. Because you're right, it's a completely new function. It's like starting again. You're technically proficient and very good at what you do from a technical perspective, and then managing people is a whole different kettle of fish. So absolutely. Some people are adept at it and pick it up really well. Others struggle, and I think that's always been the challenge in terms of people staying in organizations for a long time. They naturally go, okay, you've been here a long time, you know the business, therefore you can manage people. But again, that's another thing. I guess in most tech organizations, they have probably two streams in terms of team leader or tech lead. So you have the ability to choose your own career from that perspective. Do you want to go down the people management route, which in case you'll be supported to do that, or do you want to just be focused purely on the on technical side, in which case you'll be given that latitude as well.
Yeah. I think the main point I think here is make sure to ask people what they want and not just assume that the career progression will look that way.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think we probably want to jump to the next one, and it's been burning one, I think, especially during last 3 years, because remote work and flexible working arrangements have become such a burning topic in the tech industry. So what is your top observation in terms of the work-life balance and flexible work arrangements when they come to keep the tech talent?
Look,
I feel like, most of the time, when I speak with tech people, they just I just want to be left alone. I just want to stay at home and code. I don't want to go to the office. I'm not productive in the office. So that's a usual reaction, but not always. Some people love coming to the office, but so how an organization can navigate this?
No, you're right. It's a really hot topic at the moment. Flexible working and remote working, because I read something the other day that by the end of 2026, there's a global survey of over 1,000 CEOs, and they expected by the end of 2026 75% of their teams to be back working 5 days a week in an office. So I feel like that's kind of aspirational, but it's interesting in itself to hear that is mindset that organizations are adopting now. Especially, as we've all got used to the COVID and post-COVID world of having a lot more flexibility in the way that we do work. Whether in or out of an office, hybrid, fully remote. I think, especially in tech, to get the best talent, the talent themselves know that they have the ability to go to organizations, and organizations know to get the top talent, they need to have that flexibility. So that exists, and that will, I have a strong feeling, will continue. The organizations that will lose people will be the ones that are too rigid in their approach. I feel like hybrid work is here to stay. I guess it remains to be seen how organizations go from that perspective. But that is another key thing for to retain your top talent. I think you just need to make sure that you can be as flexible and accommodating as possible.
Yeah, and I think it's also coming back to that, how we can get to that individual level and try to ask people what they prefer, and try to gather that feedback to see who wants to come to office, who doesn't want to come to office. I understand it will be so hard to please everyone, but maybe at least on the team level there is an opportunity to create that flexibility that this team decide to work these days, this team decide to go to office these days, and obviously it will be not always perfect for everyone, but people feel appreciated, and they feel that they can make a choice.
No, you're right, and I think, personally speaking, I think there is a balance in there. I think there needs to be a bit of a healthy medium between the two. I think it's really important that teams can connect and be in person. And actually, I think that the productivity and the work that actually gets done when people are in person is important. But at the same time, I also respect that not everybody wants to be in person. Actually likes they've enjoyed and got used to working a remote life, whether it's they're based here or overseas or wherever. I ran a recruitment training session a couple of weeks ago, and one of the comments that we got was that and this is coming from a recruiter, so it was quite interesting that they said if the opportunity arose, they would go back to working fully remote 5 days a week. They work within their 5K radius, and and just kind of continue like that. So it was interesting that I just assumed that recruiters, as a very sort of outgoing social animals, would want to be around people again. But I guess it just is kind of a further evidence that people, that people don't want that anymore.
I think we're coming back to that first point. Never assume. Never assume. Always ask.
Yeah.
Always ask what people actually want.
It's just about having a conversation. Just clear communication. Have that conversation.
Yeah. So the next one we have on the list is employee engagement, well-being, and recognition. So can you, I guess, maybe help us to provide some examples of successful recognition programs in tech, and successful well-being programs? I will be really curious to know, because again, it's everyone talking about well-being, but is anyone actually doing it well?
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I think it's an ever-evolving conversation, but from an engagement perspective, I've seen some really good examples of when that's worked really, really well. Best example that springs to sort of top of my mind is actually during my time with Zendesk, and they had this innovative way of interviewing candidates where at the end of the process, they would get everybody in a room, and you would have a debrief. I think the aim was to make sure that for the process that you had a mix of experience and teams and backgrounds, so it wasn't all just people working within tech within the same teams. That there was actually that variety from the start, and more experienced, less experienced people. So you got that blend of opinions, but then you had this wrap up at the end where everybody gave, on the count of three, gave their votes out of five. I think we called it the fist of five. And actually, by doing that, everybody had a voice. Everybody had their chance to give their opinion without feeling that they needed to sort of defer to the most experienced person in the room. And I think actually by doing that, it actually created different outcomes than what would have been otherwise. I think, you know, the observations, the points of view from less experienced people, as people from slightly different teams, actually gave a lot more color and a lot more value to the overall discussion, which ended up, you know, probably resulting in slightly different hires than would have otherwise been expected. So that was something that was worked really, really well, and something that I would definitely advocate in terms of that. And I think that sort of flows on. You know, we talk about well-being, so I think it is offering those mental health support programs, employee assistance programs. I think when I've seen it best in actions, when organisations have just taken time to bring somebody in from offsite and just focus on, for the whole organisation, just to focus on, you know, this is what we're doing, this is what we're talking about today, mental health. Slalom was an organisation that started in Australia. I started 2 weeks into COVID, so my whole experience with that organisation over 2 years was pretty much fully remote. But I think what they did well was they championed things like mental health weeks, where there was ongoing discussions and presentations from external parties around different aspects of mental health and well-being, and how to be kind to yourself, how to look after yourself, both from a physical and sort of mental perspective. So there was a lot of different things that went into doing that, and I think that had a very positive effect. So, you know, just because we're out of the COVID and sort of returning to something like normality, we are still in a situation where, as we've just talked about, people want to be working remotely and working with Flex. So you don't often know how these people are doing, whether they are actually under stress or depressed or anything like that, because you often don't get a read of people when they are working like that. So I think those kind of things are still important to do and still essential to really sort of help people feel that they are heard and they are sort of acknowledged within the business as well.
I feel like one of the challenges, with well-being, especially when we're talking about always like a mental health support and information, that again, like some people happy to open up and talk about these things, and for some people might feel a bit too invasive, if someone decides to have like the open conversation about the problems and stuff. So I guess coming back to that that idea of how individual every approach, and I think the organization who are doing the best is the ones who can actually give that customized program to each of the employees based on their in this case like a personality as well, because well-being means such a different things for different people. I don't think really anyone solved that problem perfectly yet.
No, they haven't. There is, it just brought to mind, there's an amazing, so I think I didn't sort of mention at the beginning in my introductions that I actually run and have run a Melbourne recruitment meetup. I've been running it for sort of 7.5 years. And one of the sessions that we ran a couple of years ago was about mental health and well-being, and how to remain sort of resilient in a post-COVID world, and had a presentation from a fantastic organization called Readiness. And Readiness actually work with organizations to help create kind of connections and programs for people to deal with mental health. So it's a really simple thing, like an app on your phone, which you get to check in on every morning. But they also set you up with buddies. So actually, a lot of people are working remotely, and people who actually their job is remote, truck drivers and those kind of things. it actually creates a network of support for people who might otherwise not have had it. And I think it's it's a fantastic tool. I'd really encourage any organization who might feel they have a need or have any challenges around that to sort of explore that or similar tools.
I think it's also about importance for organization to identify the issues related to burnout and stress. So how you can actually catch it before it's become the problem.
Yeah, absolutely,
yeah. John is saying there is definitely a shift to accepting people suffer from stress and support them and having mental health support and days off. I hope it's working that way. Probably not in every organization.
That's a great point. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's another key thing. One of the stats, some stat I read the other day was that something around a crazy high number of 65 to 75% of people have experienced burnout to some degree this year. So I think it's just something that is slowly starting to be acknowledged, and changing environments. So yeah, that's a really good observation.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think the challenge is still there in terms of like how we can make sure that we have that individual approach to people with the different stress levels and stuff. So, and also about a little bit about recognition. Yeah. So do you have any examples of like successful recognition programs? I think obviously a lot of companies have some sort of awards or grades. I don't know, like what do you feel like been one of the successful ones?
There's it can be really straight, like really simple. It's basic, just like acknowledging when work has been well done. I think coming from an environment where everything is so fast paced, we build this team and we deliver this project, and okay, well that's great, but we've got another project to deliver. I think it's often just as simple as stopping to smell the roses and actually saying this is a job well done, and celebrating success. It can be as simple as that, like celebrating success and actually saying this is a job well done, and like acknowledging it publicly. I think is often all some people need, in terms of motivation. Some people, again, it comes down to individual. Some people like that public recognition. Others just like a quiet word and a pat on the shoulder. So I think those are the things that can often get missed when you're working in an organization that is so fast paced and has that ongoing demand for delivery and for success. I think there's plenty of other. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head what I've done in the past, but I think like acknowledging effort. I think in one previous organisation, actually acknowledging the fact that people have gone over and above, and so they were provided with days in lieu or extra time off or actually vouchers. I've seen people have been bought sort of like a weekend break and stuff like that to acknowledge that. That their efforts had been recognised. I think that's often what employees need. And if there is, I guess it depends on the individual. If they're motivated by money, then providing incentives for that. Salespeople often that's the thing. But again, it depends on the individual and depends on the nature of the work around what identifying what success looks like and then celebrating that.
Yeah, so we're coming back to this customizing, I guess, recognition.
Yeah.
But back to your point, the simple thank you and simple acknowledgement, it's good for everyone. There's probably no people out there who would be, disappointed if someone will say them thank you or just give the just simple verbal recognition of their good work. And you're right. Sometimes I think we just in hurry, we're running around and we just simply forget to acknowledge, just stop and say, thank you for doing this. It's been a great project. Just as simple as it is. I think we even forget about it in our personal life. Sometimes we just taking like, how often we remember, I don't know, tell tell our partner thank you for cooking dinner. I don't know, like I think it's a similar thing. Yes, you're doing it every day, but if you just say simple thank you, that can go a long way.
I think often, you can go too far the other way, though, can't you? Of course, of just saying, saying thank you for everything. I think, it's most valuable and most impactful when it really is something really meaningful. You've hit a deadline, you've overcome this really complex challenge with this piece of coding or this piece of work. You've dealt with multiple challenges from multiple teams, and you've kind of streamlined process. Something that has been significant is always worth acknowledging, and that may be promotion, that may be giving them an opportunity to work on something like a real passion project. But yeah, as I said, I feel like I'm scratch record now, but it really is more identifying what makes that individual tick, what is most motivating to them, and then providing an environment and a culture that actually can support that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think again, if when it comes to any recognition, well-being, engagement, again, we need to remember about those personalities, different different types of people and how they react to the different things. I think, it's just our ongoing topic today. But let's jump to the next strategy, and really relevant for the tech world. Obviously, staying competitive in technology. So, how the company can use that?
Oh, I think this is pretty quick, pretty self-explanatory, really. Top tech talent wants to work with the latest technologies. They want to be able to learn and to grow and to develop their own skills, while also using the latest and best tech to do innovative and frankly cool things. So an organisation who are lagging behind will very quickly find that they are losing people to those organisations. That's not to say that and that's a generalisation that everybody wants to do it. That's not always the case. There are people who are quite happy to sort of work, identify one technology they love, and they will remain with that and doing good things in that space. So if that's the case, then it's what are the updates? What are the new things in that? Then that they can learn and actually apply to the work as well. So it's not necessarily changing tech, but it's more staying up to date with the developments within that niche, within the industry. Learning what is happening. I'm working with someone at the moment who's doing some really cool stuff with no code. Bubble and Flutter to build some really neat tools. So there are a lot of people who are really getting interested in that sort of thing. So organizations who kind of embrace that and can actually provide those opportunities to people to learn and to upskill, and maybe even if it's just a case of an initial project, just to sort of suss out whether it is going to be something viable for them for the long term. Providing that opportunity to people is hugely motivating to help them remain within the business and see how they can make success of that tool.
I think you also touched on a quite important point about that some people want to work with the latest shiny thing, and some people maybe not. But I think what's important is actually we're coming back to transparent communication, to make sure you tell people from the beginning. You not promise them that yes, we're gonna work with all these shiny things, and I don't know, we're gonna move to the cloud this year, and you're gonna work with all this technology, and then 3 years later, I don't know, you're still on premises and you're thinking like, what's going on? We were gonna, I don't know, move to the cloud 2 years ago. I think that's kind of the transparency of also like where the company heading to in terms of technology, because not every company gonna jump on the next shiny thing and use the latest version. But I think it's just communicating it clearly to the people.
No, absolutely, completely agree. Yeah, but you may well find that you're not your organisation is in the position where you're able to use the latest tech. But if you have a plan and you're moving towards migrating towards something like that, then that's actually often a good way of selling the opportunity to an individual who's keen to work on that stack, because then you get the chance to work on something meaty like a migration, and actually chance to learn as you sort of do that work.
Yeah. I think there's a few things that really correlate to recruitment process here. When we're talking about, I think technology and stuff. So we need to make sure also that when we recruit people, that's the technology align as well, and we're not just trying to chase some shiny things that we're not even going to plan to do it.
I know recruiters often get a bad rap for dishonesty and that sort of thing, but I think you're absolutely right. The best recruiters are the ones that I've worked with have always been the ones that have provided the, I guess, warts and all experience for an organisation, because not everything is shiny and happy, and there are challenges, and I think it's important that you are balancing the good stuff with the not so good stuff, because obviously, oftentimes the bad stuff is what appeals to people, the chance to go in and actually fix something. If everything's all happy and rosy, and then where's the challenge? Often that's the issue. That's what people will sort of rally against and say, actually, there's not enough challenge in it for me if everything's running as smoothly as has been suggested.
Definitely. We have one more strategy to discuss, but before, we still have few people who with us on the stream. Guys, we keep discussing a few points here. We'll be really curious to hear from you. What's the most important for you? We're talking about all this career development and, the well-being and flexibility and staying with technology. Would be curious to hear from the audience what's the most important for you, because maybe nothing from that list is important. Maybe you just want to share us in the company. I don't know.
None of these things are important. Just a healthy salary and decent benefits. Yeah, I mean that's not necessarily a bad thing either, right? People have got families, people have got lives. We work to we work to live. Well, most of us do. So yeah, I mean, maybe it is just that. Maybe it's just whoever's paying the highest, and they can maximize that earning potential for a while.
Yeah,
it's not a bad thing either.
Would be curious to hear, what makes you to stay in the company. And last, one of the last strategy we want to discuss today. No, we're not the last one. Second last. Ooh, that's support diversity and inclusion. So, what's, I guess, the most important things when it comes to that?
Yeah, I've been working as sort of in tech for the last 10 years, and this has just been an ongoing focus for me. I don't know this stat off the top of my head, but it's a crazy high stat of teams that have diversity within them, both in gender, but also experience and all those sort of diversities actually are so much more productive. It's like 75, or a crazy high stats, are much more productive than teams that don't have that diversity of focus. So it's such an important part. There's when I joined Slalom, shortly afterwards, the global CEO declared that we would be a 50-50 gender balanced business by 2030. So there was a 10-year plan to make sure the business was gender balanced, which was a huge undertaking. And it was a good opportunity for us in Australia to start as we meant to go on, because it meant that obviously oftentimes you don't get traction in this space unless you have that leadership, the senior leadership buy-in, and obviously from that point it worked really well. So actually having a constant focus around that, and actually making sure that you were constantly having the conversation every time you went to hire somebody around this. What does the makeup of the team look like? How can we make sure that we have the greater diversity within the team? Some roles, some teams have naturally more women, for example. Design was one that you never sort of had too much challenge to find. But then data engineering was. So there was always like individual focuses. So then you broke down how you actually went about targeting more diversity in certain areas. So it was always an ongoing challenge, an ongoing struggle that was ever present. But I think ultimately there was over 40% women population and broader diversity within the business as well. And it made such a difference to the overall delivery and offering, but also the culture of the organization as well. So there's such value to doing it. But I think organizations can fall foul of just assuming that hiring more women, just as an example, is like a project. It's something that you do for 3 months and then you hire more women and then that's your problem solved. But it's not. It's an ongoing like 3 to 5 year plan to have to put the right steps in place, to engage with the right organizations, to get the right women leaders in to the organization, to demonstrate to the broader community that actually that the organization is doing what it says it will do and it is living the values that it says it is, in order to support more women. Then putting plans, putting like programs and strategies and greater thinking in place to actually be able to support and develop those people within the organization. That's and as a result of that, that's how you retain and you sort of keep those people motivated within the business.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that more holistic approach. That it's not just about hitting some quotas. It's.
I hate that. I hate that idea of hitting quotas, and I railed against this idea of 50-50 because I think it can set bad precedents around thinking for that as well. There was one hiring manager. I won't say which organisation, but they we lost we basically lost a couple of diverse women candidates for one team, and then the feedback was, okay, we'll just hire more in an area where there's great proliferation of women, so like more in HR or something. So that there was still a balance, but then it was completely off. It was completely skewed. So you had sort of the reverse in other areas where there was no balance because there was too many of women, for example. So there has to be balance across each individual team to make sure that there is that right structure in place. Anyway, you can tell I'm passionate about this, but
that's a topic by itself, and I think we did discuss it before with Chan, I think. So there's been a few discussions on that, but I feel like that's that's a massive topic, and there's a lot of debates around some quotas and the strategy that works and not for diversity. But I'm cautious about the time. We're getting to the 50 minutes of our today's stream. James delivers an answer about what's important for him. When you're in an organization that you've given a huge chunk of your life, skills, and experience to, that recognize your time and efforts and support you personally, get to know you and value your input, not just for what you've done for the organization, but also for who you are as a person. I think
that's great.
We're coming back about that personalized approach. So I think the moral from today's conversation that comes up to for each strategy is more personalized you can make your approach. I think is more success you will have in retaining top talent. But I think you have a few points here, I guess, to summarize. Would love you to, I guess, give a bit of an overview in terms of like what we discussed today and what are the main points when we wanted to make sure that people stay in our organization.
Yeah, so that's just a few sort of key points, but I think while a competitive salary and that sort of thing is important. I read something a little while ago where it suggested that actually salaries aren't the most important aspect to a job. Now, I think it's probably assumed that tech talent will be in an organisation that pays competitive. So that kind of takes that off the table a little bit. So it's much less about that and more about the other value adding things. The career growth, the work life balance, the flexibility, the ability to feel part of an organisation as a culture while you work remotely. And I think this is a conversation that I've had quite a few times recently around how organisations are supporting supporting a culture where people aren't in the office all the time, where they are actually working remotely, either in a hybrid model or fully remote. How do you engage these people? And I think that's fundamentally changed how organizations engage now. And I think that's something that will continue to be an ongoing focus for a lot of organizations, especially ones who have tech talent and want to be able to give them that flexibility to retain them.
Don't want to put you on the spot, but do you think you have some example of organization that you think is doing great job at it? You can think about it while you're thinking about it.
Yeah,
I'll do the announcement for next week. I'll give you a minute to think about some examples if you have any. But next week is 8th of November, so next Wednesday, we're going to talk with Peter, and we're kind of staying on the hiring side again next week. So next week we're going to talk about the difference about hiring by gut feeling or personality testing. And I think it could be quite an interesting topic because some people just hate personality testing. Some people just think that gut feeling is just all unconscious bias and can't be used, and it needs to be all rational. And there's quite a few different opinions there. So Peter will going to talk about his story and how he approached his recruitment process and how he compare the gut feeling versus personality testing. So if you especially if you thinking to hire, or actually even if you're a job seeker, I think it will be an interesting topic to listen, because you might find something new about why you didn't get that job.
That's going to be that'll be a really interesting one, actually. Gut feeling has played such a part in the conversations I've had with hiring managers. Why did you like them? Just a gut feeling. Okay, can you tell me more? Can you back that gut feeling up with practical evidence? That sort of thing. So I think there's still a lot of that goes on. I just had a feeling. So I'll be really interested to hear what Pete has to say.
So that's next week. So I'm hope you will join. And did you have any particular example for us to finish this stream?
Yeah.
Or
so
maybe just a good program that someone ran. I don't know. You did bring us quite a few examples, but yeah, I just thinking maybe something else comes up to your mind.
I was talking. So I was in Brisbane a couple of weeks ago delivering a training. Like a half-day training session around building your TA strategy. And I was obviously Brisbane. There's a lot of mining and that sort of thing, And actually, I was talking to someone from, I think it was a mining company, and they obviously have people spread across Queensland, but across Australia. So I think one of the things they were doing was trying to break down the comms. A lot of truck drivers and that sort of thing. So they're trying to break it down into catch-ups, read like, sort of individual team catch-ups, but then like more broad organizational sort of things as well, and it'd be so tricky to sort of cater for everybody. I think they try to record sessions that they, like overall company updates that they would then send out to make sure people still felt that they were included in what was happening, even if they were working remotely or off-site, that sort of thing. It's a tough thing to do, to try and cater for everybody, but there are some organizations out there who are doing some interesting and innovative things for sure.
Yeah. Internal communication, not the easiest task, where sometimes we think, we'll just send that email and everyone knows about it and then that's enough. But in reality, yes, it takes way more effort to make sure that everyone in the organization actually on the same page and get this news and feeling like they're part of it.
Can I ask you a question then? How have you gone about doing it within your organization? What are some of the things that you found to be successful?
Because we the reasonably, I guess, small organization, we have an opportunity to do a lot of one-on-ones. And we have opportunity to talk about individual career planning, and we do have opportunity to customize everyone's plan. And basically, people can choose whatever course they want to do. So, when you have like under 50 people, that's manageable. And you can basically talk with everyone and see what sort of course they want to do, and just basically simply reimburse them to that course. I also find it really useful doing just simple lunch and learn sessions, where give everyone opportunity to present, and everyone can present on a different topic and share it with the peers. But then you can have this informal chat as well and get to know your peers a bit more. And it's an opportunity for everyone to practice the presentation skills as well. So I found those ones quite useful. Because you're also presenting in a safe environment, just with your peers, that's great chance to practice. But also when you're presenting something well, you have a bit of a boost boost of self-esteem a little bit, like, actually I know something, because we often take our knowledge for granted, because we're doing something for such a long time. You feel like that's just so simple. But then when you start trying to explain it to someone, you actually realize, actually I know quite a lot on this topic. So I found those simple lunch and learn and catch-ups been quite good, and basically trying to talk with people one-on-one to understand what each person actually wants, without just sending mass email and saying, next week we're doing this course.
Pretty easy to implement as well.
Yeah. So I think if there is opportunity for organization to have that one-on-one approach, that's great. But that pretty much means that someone needs to dedicate a lot of time at talking with each person. And it's not always achievable, not in every organization, but there is something to strive for.
For sure.
Sure. Thank you, Matt, so much for your time. We have literally 1 minute left. Is there any quick, inspirational quote you can share with us to finish this live stream?
Oh, no, you put me on the spot. No, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But I think we've kind of really just kept coming back to the same theme, that I think organizations, the key strategy for retaining top talent is treat the talent as individuals. Don't lump them into the same bucket and assume that's one thing which is motivating to one person will be the same for everybody else. So I think it's creating bespoke opportunities and developmental plans, so that people feel valued, people are seen as individuals, and they have their individual needs and aspirations catered to.
Never assume. Here we go. That's our
Never assume. Okay,
that's our
let's
quote
just
for
put that onto
today.
a bumper sticker. Never assume.
Never assume. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Matt. And I'll see
Thank you.
everyone next week. Thank you. Thank you.